My name is Alara Quinn, 33 years old. The morning of Leo's 10th birthday smelled like sunscreen and sheet cake, the cheap kind that tastes better when you sing too loud. Blue streamers tugged at the backyard fence like they wanted to climb into the sky and bring the sun closer. I lined miniature water bottles on the porch rail and taped a big trash bag to the cyclone fence so the photos wouldn't look like a landfill in progress. Across the grass, the inflatable soccer goal breathed itself tall and wobbly. 6 of Leo's classmates arrived in a swarm of elbows and sneakers, joy rattling the air like ice in a glass. My family lives 20 minutes away. I used to think that meant close. It didn't mean that. Mom had texted, "We'll be there. Wouldn't miss it." My older sister Courtney promised. Aunt Coco's party favors are legendary. My younger brother, Nate, wrote, "I'll roll through after the gym. Every 20 minutes, I check the family chat the way you check a weather app when the sky already looks like rain. Nothing." The oven timer dinged like it could summon relatives. It couldn't. When the pizzas arrived, I told the driver, "Wait 1 sec." I pictured a line of cars pulling up, me calling out for one more pepperoni. He looked past me at our small, happy crowd, then back with a gentle smile. "You're good." I tipped like I could bribe fate. 2 o'clock slid into 3. The sun shifted. Shadows stretched like they were tired of holding their breath. A neighbor crossed the street with an extra cooler and an easy lie. "Full house," she said. I smiled with a face that felt wooden. At 3:11 p.m., my phone buzzed. "Mom, don't be dramatic. It's just a kid's party. Not running late, not stuck in traffic, not happy birthday, baby. Just that line, clean and mean, like a slap that didn't want fingerprints." Leo jogged over, cheeks red, hair pasted to his forehead like confetti. "Mom, cake? Can we sing?" "Gather your crew," I said, swallowing the stone in my throat. We sang loud and off-key. He blew out 10 candles in one practiced breath and grinned at me with frosting on his lip like triumph had a mustache. I clapped too hard. Then I ducked into the kitchen to rinse the knife and breathe where nobody could grade my face. The screen door squeaked. Dots blinked in the family chat. Heartbeat dots that always mean hope if you're foolish. Courtney wrote, "We'll catch the next one. Today's insane." A second later, my lock screen filled with her story. Champagne flutes and a brunch patio captioned, "Self-care Saturday with my people." In the corner, my mother's sunglasses. On the chair arm, Nate's tattoo I helped pay for when he swore he'd square up soon. Outside, a kid yelled, "Go all!" and the yard roared like we'd been seen from space. I wiped the knife, passed out plates, poured lemon lime into paper cups. 3 empty folding chairs sat in a neat row, a sermon no one preached. Leo didn't ask about Grandma or Aunt Coco or Uncle Nate. Maybe he already knew. Kids learn the shape of absence long before they learn the word for it. When the last classmate left, we built the spaceship he'd unwrapped. His fingers were sure. Mine were steady because he needed them to be. He fell asleep on the couch hours later with a slice of pizza in his hand, like a tiny king, confident no one would tax him. My phone pinged at 8:04 p.m. A voice note from Mom, careful and careless at once. "Don't make a big deal, Ilara. He's 10. He'll barely remember." I put the phone face down because the next sentence would make me say something I couldn't put back in the box. I cleaned like I was erasing the crime. Streamers down, banner folded into the shoebox with leftover candles, frosting scraped into the trash, cans crushed, chairs stacked to return. I am a network tech. I fix knots for a living. I make lists for fun. Every dollar, every password, the store that restocks juice boxes on Tuesdays. Being the responsible one is a promotion without a raise. They hand you the keys and call it love. In the hallway, my keys waited on their hook. The brass to my front door looked soft. Mom had a copy. Courtney had borrowed one last month for an errand and never brought it back. I touched the metal and felt something inside me cool and flatten, like water turning to ice that knows it will hold weight. A text from Ethan lit the screen. "How's the champion?" He is careful with his questions. I love him for the way he doesn't demand an answer. I sent a photo of Leo asleep with frosting on his chin. A second later, 3 hearts. Then, "Proud of you." I typed, "Thanks," and almost added, "I'm tired of performing okay," but didn't. Not tonight. Under Mom's brunch post from last week, a familiar name blinked. Camille, Ethan's ex. The kind of woman who curates appearances the way other people collect stamps. She'd commented 3 pink hearts. I blocked the thought before it could dress itself as jealousy. Still, the image pinned somewhere in me, Camille's neat alignment with the side of my family that believes volume is truth. In the quiet, the house finally sounded like itself. The fridge's low hum, a distant train, the sigh of a child becoming taller in his sleep. I put labeled cake slices in the freezer, slid the shoebox onto the top shelf, and wrote a sticky note for Monday's lunch. Level 10. Kid, level 10 cake. I stood in the doorway and watched the small person who made my life make sense. I tried to imagine him at 16 in a tux under chandeliers, and my chest did a stubborn roll at the thought of the bill I'd be handed for the privilege of belonging. I pressed my palm flat to the doorframe and made a promise I could keep. I would not make the problem smaller to fit their comfort. I would make the door stronger to fit my son's life. 2 days from now, a firm knock would test that promise. But tonight I turned off the kitchen light, checked the lock, and felt it click twice, on the door and in my chest. The hum of the fridge sounded like a new policy warming up. I whispered into the quiet, "You'll remember the singing, and let that be enough." 2 mornings later, my phone vibrated hard enough to skate across the counter. Family chat detonation. The preview line shouted before I opened it. Very important. RSVP by Wednesday. A PDF unfurled in gold and lavender like a church bulletin for wealth. Sweet 16. Extravaganza. Orchids cascading from a ceiling like money could bloom. Menu items that read like a cruise ship dared a dictionary. Caviar bar, ice sculpture, interactive gelato artist. At the bottom, the number, $200 per person. Under that, the instruction, Venmo me. No good morning. No how was Leo's party. No apology gif. Just an invoice wearing a tiara. I went to close the file and saw one more page. Gold patrons, in honor of family. Ilara Quinn. My head did a slow turn, like I could knock the words off the screen with eyesight alone. The photo was from my LinkedIn, the one where I look competent and unbothered. Courtney had submitted it. Of course she had. Messages stacked on top of each other, like they couldn't wait to be wrong. Mom, we'll need you to cover Grandma's seat, too. She's on a fixed income. Courtney, we're in. Coco can't do less than premium. Nate, yo, do they have an open bar? If so, Ilara, you got me plage Jess, right? I set down my coffee and still felt it burn in my throat. I opened a blank note and made 2 columns because numbers soothe me when people don't. What I do, what they assume. Soccer fees, mine. Court filing fee for Nate's license reinstatement, mine. Studio website hosting, mine. Costco cake, mine. $200 per person, theirs. Deposit, theirs. It's just a kid's party, theirs. My chest did the math. The total came out to grief. I scrolled up in the chat to screenshot their promises for Leo, then the brunch photo, then the My People caption. I dropped the 3 images back into the thread with one line. This was Leo's birthday. You said you'd come. Silence held the phone like a breath. Then, Courtney, why are you stuff here? Text me. Mom, don't guilt us. We have lives. Saturdays are hard. Nate, don't be a martyr. Kids don't care. I replied without commentary. Just receipts. Moms wouldn't miss it. Courtney's Aunt Coco's bringing favors. They're mimosas. After a beat that felt like the truth thinking about its options, Mom reappeared. Enough. We're focusing on the Sweet 16 now. I told the venue you'd handle the deposit since you're the most organized. I could hear my pulse in my face. I typed slow, like each letter had to pass through customs. I am being an adult. I am Leo's mother. I will not sponsor this event. Remove my name from all materials immediately. Before anyone could swarm, I opened Venmo, found Mom, and sent $1 with the note. Congratulations. $1, a perfect mirror held up to absurdity. A text from Ethan slid in, not in the family chaos, but on a clean thread of his own. You're quiet today. Everything okay? I sent him a photo of the PDF's gold patrons page, my name under guilt's fake halo. His response came like a steady hand. You don't owe them a performance. Proud of you for saying no. Then, after a beat, want me there tonight? I stared at the question. Under his restraint, a promise. He'd show up the way people do who understand doors. Later, I typed, I need to fix something first. I grabbed my keys. The hardware store smelled like cut metal and that specific sawdust that clings to new rules. The guy at the machine glanced at my face and didn't ask the wrong question. Deadbolt and knob? Both, I said. Make it smooth. He cut clean. The keys being born sounded like possibility. Back home, I changed the hardware while Leo practiced reading on the couch, his feet kicking the air, unconcerned. The old lock came off easy, too easy, like it had never resisted anyone. The new one seated itself with purpose. The first turn felt like a door and a spine learning the same word. The group chat resumed like it had been holding it in. Mom, family helps family. Courtney, it's just money, Alara. Stop making everything about your kid. Nate, you'll regret making this weird. I put the screwdriver down and typed, going forward, I won't attend or sponsor the Sweet 16. Remove my name and photo. I will not discuss this further. Wishing you all the best. Send. Then I blocked numbers. Not forever, not out of anger, just long enough to keep the line I'd drawn from being trampled before it dried. A DM blinked from Camille, Ethan's ex, arriving like perfume left in a room you didn't invite anyone into. Big spaces are meant to be shared, don't you think? Some people forget generosity is a virtue. She had hearted one of Mom's posts, a neat triangle of approval. I stared at the message like it was a bug on the wall, then answered with the spray that doesn't smell like rage. My home isn't content. Wishing you well. I hit send and muted the thread. If there was a test in there, I declined to take it. By dinner, the quiet in the apartment sounded like it had been waiting years to try its voice. Leo did his homework, tongue between his teeth, and asked, What are you fixing? Something that keeps us safe, I said. The spaceship landing pad, he guessed. That too. After he went to bed, I drafted an email to the venue with my corporate voice, the one that makes people who befriend policies sit up straighter. Please remove my name and image from all print and digital materials immediately. I did not authorize sponsorship. Attached are screenshots reflecting my lack of consent. I CC'd the person whose title included manager because fear reads italics more clearly when it's formatted as authority. I closed the laptop and sat in the clean hum of the fridge. My heart still thumped in my jaw. My jaw still pretended it wasn't impressed. The knock I expected didn't come. Not yet. What arrived instead was a text from Ethan. Left a basil plant outside your door. Every kitchen needs something green that refuses to die. I opened the door to a small pot with 3 brave leaves, stocky and certain. I set it on the counter between the new keys and the screwdriver. It looked like a flag. Later, when I finally slept, my dreams were unspectacular. Me at a counter, labeling cake slices. Me putting a shoebox on a shelf. Me turning a new lock twice because I could. When I woke, I felt the difference between petty and precise, between cruelty and clarity. Petty wants someone to hurt. Precise wants the harm to stop. At 6:58 a.m., the venue replied, We've removed your name from all printed and digital materials. Apologies for the oversight. At 7:03, Mom left a voicemail with a tremble that shook like a threat dressed for church. You will regret this. Don't forget who raised you. I stared at the phone and didn't pick it up. Outside, the street was already awake. Delivery truck brakes, a dog debating whether to bark. Inside, the basil looked alive in our light. At 7:42, a firm knock landed on the door like a period at the end of a sentence I hadn't written. Through the peephole, 2 uniforms, polite and inevitable. I smoothed the front of my t-shirt, took one breath, and opened the door into the next test of how sturdy my no could be. When you've spent years apologizing for other people's mess, even silence feels like an accusation. So the knock wasn't just loud, it was confirmation. Through the peephole, 2 uniformed officers, one tall, one compact, both neutral-faced. Morning, said the tall one. Ms. Quinn? Yes? We're responding to a call from a family member. They reported concerns. His tone softened on the last word. Possible threats, property dispute, and a welfare check for a minor at this address. There it was. Mom's trifecta. Efficient, cruel, and dressed as care. Come in, I said, opening the door wide enough to show the evidence that destroys rumors. Clean floors, cereal bowls in the sink, my son alive and laughing. Leo sat on the couch, still in pajamas, spoon in hand. He waved at them with the casual confidence of a kid who hasn't yet learned that adults lie when they say they're worried. "Hi," he said. "Want cereal?" The shorter officer smiled. "You good, buddy?" Leo nodded solemnly, then whispered to me, "Do we know them?" "They're just checking on us," I said gently, "like teachers, but for houses." I motioned toward this kitchen. "We can talk there." The taller one leaned against the counter while I spoke. I could feel my pulse in my throat, but my voice stayed level, the muscle memory of someone who's worked in customer service and survived family dinners. "This is about my mother and my siblings. They didn't come to my son's birthday, then demanded I pay thousands for a cousin's party. I said no. They didn't like that word. Now they're escalating." The taller one covered a twitch of a smile. "That tracks." "They also use my name and photo for event sponsorship without consent. I emailed the venue to remove it. I have receipts." I slid my phone across the counter. Screenshots, emails, the $1 transfer with congratulations typed in neat lowercase. He scrolled, nodding. "You're organized," he said. "It's my defense mechanism." The shorter officer jotted something. "Any weapons in the home?" "Only butter knives and Lego swords," I said. "The Lego ones are more dangerous." That earned a real laugh, quiet but human. They asked if there were any court orders or custody issues. "No," I said. "Leo's mine." "His father's not in the picture, and that's a blessing, not a mystery." The taller officer gave a slow nod. "Got it." The shorter one checked his notes. "Caller also stated you were withholding a family heirloom necklace." I blinked. "A necklace?" He read verbatim, and refusing to return it. "The only necklaces in this house are made of macaroni," I said. "If she means the spare house key, I changed the locks yesterday. You can have the old one if it helps you file cleaner paperwork." They exchanged a look that said, "Yep, we've seen this circus before." The taller one straightened up. "Here's the deal, Ms. Quinn. Happens all the time. Family gets used to a system. Money, access, free labor. Someone changes the rules. Panic ensues. They call us. We make sure nobody's in danger. Then we write a report that says just that." "That would be great," I said quietly. The shorter one added, "Do you want to log anything from your side? Helps to have it on record." "Yes," I said. "Please note that they used my name for a financial commitment without consent and that I requested its removal in writing." He wrote it down. "Good. Keep saving everything. Paper trails save sanity." When they left, the taller one handed me a card. "If they show up and won't leave, call us. Don't engage. Just close the door." "Thank you," I said. He nodded once. "Boundaries make people loud before they make them quiet. Hold the line." The door shut behind them with a soft click. Not a slam, just punctuation. The air inside felt different, like it had finally picked a side. 10 minutes later, my email pinged. From Venue Manager. Subject: Confirmation of removal. "We've taken your name off all materials. We apologize for the oversight." One thread snipped clean. I exhaled. Not triumph, relief. Then another vibration. A text from an unknown number. "Aunt Nora, I heard what happened. They're furious. Courtney's yelling about her vision. Your mom's calling you ungrateful because she can't call you something worse. For what it's worth, you did the right thing." I typed back, "I didn't do anything. I just stopped doing everything." She sent a single emoji, a half smile, half sad face. The first honest digital expression I'd seen in days. By that evening, the family propaganda machine was running hot. Courtney posted a long caption. "Some people can't be happy for others. Protect your peace." Hashtag toxic energy. She didn't tag me. She didn't have to. Her followers flooded the comments with heart emojis and "You're a queen." Nate texted from a new number. "Mom's crying. Can you just pay and we'll square up later? We're family." I blocked it. Mom left a voicemail on the landline I barely remembered existed. "You embarrass me." "The police? Really? Family doesn't do that. You're not well." I let the machine blink red and ignored it. The house was too quiet to invite that tone back in. At 7, my neighbor knocked, the same one who'd brought over an extra cooler for Leo's party. She held out a Tupperware of brownies. "Heard about the drama," she said softly. "You fought the right fight." Maybe it was the word fought. Maybe it was the kindness. But something behind my ribs finally unclenched. After she left, Leo padded out from his room, hair messy, eyes wide. "Mom, are we mad at Grandma?" I dried my hands on a towel. "No," I said slowly. "We're not mad. We're taking a break. Like time out for grown-ups who forgot how to be kind." He nodded, satisfied. "That makes sense." It did. more than anything else this week. That night, after he fell asleep, I opened my laptop and made a new folder called Receipts/Boundaries. Every screenshot, every email, every text went in. Not out of spite, out of sanity. The fridge hummed like it was proud of me. The basil plant from Ethan tilted toward the window, surviving against odds. For the first time in years, I wasn't holding my breath waiting for the next guilt trip. I whispered into the quiet, "You're not the villain, Alara. You're just finally not the supply." Outside, the world went on. A dog barked, a siren faded. But inside my walls, everything stayed still. Safe. Tomorrow would bring glittering apologies dressed as peace offerings. I already knew it. And this time I'd answer them with something better than compliance. Silence. By Monday morning, the group chat resurrected itself like a bad sequel. Mom's name glowed first. Subject line, apology. I shouldn't have opened it, but curiosity is just hope wearing its funeral dress. Family is complicated. Sometimes schedules clash. We love Leo and will make it up to him soon. The Sweet 16 is important for business connections. This is an investment. Please support. Also, Ilara has been under stress, so let's not push her. Not an apology, a press release. She turned my no into pathology, my boundaries into burnout, and somewhere between the emojis and the diplomacy, she made herself the victim again. I stared at the screen long enough for my reflection to ghost over her words. Then I closed the chat, took a long breath, and whispered to no one. You can't fix people who think ownership is love. At 5:02 p.m., my inbox pinged. From Venue Manager. We've received a call from your mother stating you've recommitted to your sponsorship and will be paying the remaining balance. Please confirm before we finalize materials. She had lied again. Effortlessly. I called. My voice came out steady, the way it does when you talk to a child holding scissors. Do not process any payment under my name, I said. If she calls again, please forward the recording. The woman on the other end exhaled like she'd just crossed something off a list. Understood. When I hung up, my basil plant rustled against the window like applause. The night of the Sweet 16 arrived, dressed in arrogance and borrowed diamonds. In another life, I would have been there, smiling through teeth, clapping at speeches, pretending the champagne didn't taste like guilt. But in this one, I was at the park under orange streetlights, watching Leo try to beat me in free throws. If I make this, he said, you owe me a milkshake. You already owe me 3 from last week. He grinned. Double or nothing. He shot. Swish. I laughed so loud a stranger turned to look. We stayed until the sky went navy and the air smelled like grass and small victories. On the drive home, Leo leaned against the window, humming. You think Grandma's party has better music than us? Maybe louder, I said. Not better. At home, we ordered fries and milkshakes and watched a movie way past bedtime. Leo lined his action figures along the coffee table. They're at our party, he said. Cake says invisible but still real. I smiled. Perfect kind. He fell asleep with chocolate on his chin, hand still wrapped around a straw. I muted my phone, but curiosity won again. I opened Instagram. Courtney's feed was an explosion of rented happiness. Gold filters, dripping chandeliers, captions like, family goals, #grateful, #luxury events. Mom posed beside an ice sculpture. Nate tagged the DJ. Even Camille had liked a photo of Mom's proud moments. The screen felt radioactive. I turned it off. A minute later, Aunt Nora texted. They seated Grandma next to a fog machine. She said she couldn't see her food. Courtney screamed at the florist and cried over the wrong lighting. The DJ threatened to quit. The bill came. Everyone stared at each other. You missed nothing. I laughed. Real, breathy laughter that loosened something in my chest. Missing it wasn't a loss. It was a win I didn't know how to celebrate yet. At midnight, I stepped onto the balcony. The city below shimmered, unaware of my family's melodrama. The basil plant stood small but upright beside me. I whispered, we survived the noise. Ethan's text popped up then. Still awake? Barely. How's the kid? Level 10 champion. Double milkshake hangover incoming. A pause then. You sound lighter. I am. He wrote back. Peace suits you. Bye. The next morning, the family chat resurrected again. Mom, thank you everyone for a perfect night. So proud of our family. Courtney, we did it. #sweet 16. Success #blessed. Nate, wild night, LOL. No mention of me. No mention of Leo. Silence from me was now part of their narrative, an omission they could curate around. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. Instead, I turned to Leo's art corner. Taped to the wall was his crooked paper banner from last week, each letter drawn in different colors. Level 10 forever. Not Sweet 16, not Platinum tier, just forever. That night, I wrote in my notebook. Notes to self. Apologies without accountability are PR. Boundaries are love with a backbone. Silence is sometimes the most fluent language. Peace isn't free. It's paid for with the refunds on chaos. I folded the page and tucked it behind the photo of Leo and me from the party, the one where our smiles were real, not rehearsed. At 7:30 the next morning, I found an envelope on the mat. No glitter. No handwriting I recognized. Inside, a kid's drawing, stick figures, balloons, crooked hearts. Dear Leo, happy birthday. Sorry we couldn't come. My mom said we had to go to a different party. I wanted the cake with the pixels. Emma, neighbor. 2 $1 bills taped inside. Leo ran into the kitchen, waving it like treasure. She remembered. He dropped the bills into his piggy bank and whispered, "Now we're rich." We already were, I said. That evening, Ethan came by with takeout and the look of someone who understands that quiet doesn't always mean lonely. He glanced at the basil plant. Still alive? Barely, I said, but holding on. He smiled. Like you. After he left, I stepped onto the balcony again. The air was clean in a way that only happens when the noise has moved somewhere else. I thought about the years I spent mistaking exhaustion for generosity, about how my mother equated obedience with love, about how Camille's posts had gone silent, replaced with a sponsored quote about forgiveness. And I thought about Leo, asleep in the next room, safe under the kind of roof you earn twice, once with money, once with courage. I whispered the truest thing I knew. Hospitality without consent is harm. Then I locked the door, not out of fear, but out of respect for everything inside it. The fridge hummed, the basil swayed, the city exhaled. And in the small, well-earned quiet of my own home, I realized I'm not the villain in their story. I'm just the author of mine.